Welcome back. In this tip, we would talk about something called a spy. Until now, we have been using mocks, and now, what is this thing called a spy? Let's look at that in this specific video. So let's create a small test. Public void spying. What do we mean by spying? Right? So typically, when we create a mock, what would happen? The entire behavior of the interface or the class gets lost. So what would happen? Let's look at an example. So I would want to create a mock for array list class. So I would say array list, array list mock is equal to mock of array list dot class. Let's import it in, and now if I say array list dot get of 0, what would it be? It would be returning the default, which is null. If I say array list dot size, array list mock dot size, what would it return? The default 0. Even if I do things like array list dot, let's say I would do array list dot add something, right? This is a call which is made on the mock. It is not a real call. It is a call which is made on the mock of an array list. So even if I actually call array list dot size after this, you would see that the value here would be 0. This is just a mock class. It is not the real class. And in here, this will return whatever I tell it to return. So if I say when array list dot size, if I say dot then, you can say then return 5. Then if I call array list mock size here, it would return 5. What I'll do here is I'll add a sysout around each one of these to make sure that we are able to see the output. Cool. So sysout, 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 sysout. Oops, not on when. Sysout here, and over here. Actually, I'll remove this out from the array list.add, so I don't really need to worry about them. Let's run this test. Right click, run as JUnit test. You'd see null 0, 0, 5. Null 0, 0, 5. So at this point, it's null because everything in that specific class gets mocked, every method. So there is no method which is real in that mock anymore. All the methods start returning the default values unless you override them. Here I'm saying array list mock dot size. I'm stubbing it here. So I'm saying when this is called, then return 5. Then it would start returning 5 back. Now, what is this thing called a spy? The thing about a spy is it uses the real class. Let's call this mocking. Let's copy this and create the same method, and let's call this spying. However, if I use a spy, so instead of a mock, I say a spy. Control 1 and add static import for it. And over here, I'll rename it Alt Shift R. This is array list spy. Thing with array list spy, is when you create a spy, the original behavior of the array list is retained, and you can stub specific methods. So the original behavior is retained, and whichever things which you override, those things will get the characteristics that you specify. Over here, if I say get of 0, this would throw an exception because the array list does not have any elements at that specific point. So if I run this test, you would see that it would throw an exception at this line because I'm trying to do a get of 0 and it says index out of bounds exception, right? In an array list, can you try and get a element at index 0 without adding anything in? Nope. So I'll add something in. So I'm saying add test 0. Now let's see what would be the output which is printed out. Right click, run as JUnit test. So you can see this is printing test 0 because that's what we added in. So this is real code. So what we are seeing in here is get of 0 is returning the element at position 0. Then it's 1, 3, and 5. So this is returning 1 because array list dot size at that specific point. What is the value? It's 1. At this point, it's 3. Over here, what we are doing is we are saying, okay, array list dot size from now on return 5. And what would happen from now on is whenever I add a value also, it does not matter. The size will remain 5. So if I actually print it, you'd see that the last value which is printed is still 5. Oops, it's running all the tests, so this becomes confusing. So let's run only this specific test as JUnit test. You can see that it is returning 5. Once you stub a method on this spy, then you are taking control. The original code is lost, and whatever you specify as the return value would be returned back. Now, you might be wondering, what are the cases in which you might want to use a spy instead of a mock, right? So there might be scenarios where you would want to use the original dependency. You don't want to mock the dependency. You would want to use the original dependency, but you would want to find out what's happening with it. The thing with spies is you can also call verify methods on it. You can call a verify on the spy saying verify arraylist.spy dot add with test4. You can do something of this kind. So you can check that this spy, the add method is called with an argument of test4, and then you'd see that the test would still succeed. So if you do not have access to a specific class to get the data from it, but you'd want to check what's going underneath that specific class, what methods are getting called and things like that, in those kind of situations you can create a spy and you can do verifications on it. In this specific video, we learned about spying. Spying is just like real world spying. Is you let the action to happen, but you keep a watch on it. Mocking is instead of the real world action. However, spying is in addition to the real world action. So you are allowing the action to happen and you keep observing it. Until the next step, bye-bye.